Hello, my name is Christina McIntyre, and this is my video presentation for Teach Like a Champion 2.0 by Doug Lemeth. The topics that will be covered in this presentation are standardize the format, affirmative checking, and no opt-out. The purpose of this presentation is to give you, the viewer, a kind of a brief overview of what I think about these three video clips. Okay, standardize the format. Key learnings. First of all, standardize the format is basically streamline observations by designing materials in space so that you're looking in the same consistent place every time for the data that you need. I gained that you can use the data that was gained from the observations to help students succeed. Also, you can check for understanding while students are at work. Because students are looking in the same consistent place each time or every time that you need the data, you don't have to disrupt the students while they're at work. You can check for understanding while they're working. Because they're all on the same page, you can gather information and see, well, okay, all my students are on the same page, or this student is not on the same page as these students. So you can check for understanding easier during these observations, during this streamline observation. Standardize the format. How did it impact my thinking? I will be able to easily observe my students. Like I said, Ms. Megan did an excellent job, I believe, in utilizing standardize the format. Students are not interrupted while at work because everyone is working in the same place. I can circulate the room and easily assess my students. Like I said earlier, it's easier to have everyone on the same page because you can go around and look and see who is actually understanding what we're doing at that period of time. Data that is gained from the observation then can turn around and be used to help students succeed. So if you're easily able to see who needs help, you're easily able to go back and modify your instruction. And that's actually why this information is actually very good to implement. Standardize the format is very good to implement because a teacher can get a quick overall view of where students are, and it enables me, the teacher, to modify my instructions immediately. Just like in the example, Miss Megan noticed that someone didn't understand the definition for disposition. So she was immediately able to go back and reteach about what disposition is. So I think this is an excellent technique to implement into the classroom. My personal professional reflection overall, like I said, I love this strategy because I can see how it can be utilized in the classroom to gather data on students. In this clip, Ms. Megan demonstrated how to standardize the format, and I know I could use this in my classroom effectively and collectively to observe my students, ensuring that they are on the right track. Affirmative checking is the next video that we watched, or that I watched, and my key learnings, it's basically inserting specific points into your lesson where students must get a confirmation that their work is correct, productive, or sufficiently rigorous before moving on to the next stage. This is a tool that to check for understanding again, and both teachers and students are constantly aware of how they're doing. And this can be found on page 54 of our text. How did it impact my thinking? Well, the teacher is able to gauge where the students are. It could be utilized as an exit ticket or a bell ringer, but however it be used, it is used to gauge how your students are doing at that specific point. It could be used in different contexts or content areas. It doesn't necessarily have to be in math, as Ms. Hillary used. She used it in math. The children were given a ticket or a green post-it to solve a problem, and they were not to move on to, or they were not able to move on, until they answered the problem, solved the problem correctly. And affirmative checking does not have to be done by the teacher all the time. This is something that can be utilized as think pair shares, two students pairing up together and solving the problem, and checking each other. Excuse me, not solving the problem, but checking each other's work. And then when their work is finished, then they go to the teacher and get confirmation as to whether they're right or wrong, or whether they can move on to independent work, or whatever is the next challenging activity after that activity. To implement affirmative checking requires time and efficiency. If done correctly, teachers are able to check for their students' understanding. Students are challenged to get it right before moving on to a more challenging activity. With this strategy, the teacher is able to pinpoint students that are having trouble with the concept. And again, as I noticed as I observed the video, Mrs. Hillary was able to see which students were able to solve that math problem. She was able to see who needed extra help, who was on the right track. Those that were able to solve the problem were able to move on to a more challenging activity. My personal and professional reflection on this clip. In this clip, Mrs. Lewis demonstrated how the use of affirmative checking works. She asked her students to solve a math problem on a green ticket, and the students were to solve the problem and check with her before moving on to independent practice. I can see how this strategy will be beneficial in the classroom. It allows the teacher to informally gather data about students in a challenging yet rewarding way. I believe at the end they were able to go to a independent work. I mean, you just think about, it's rewarding for the student when they get it right. That's a reward in itself. If they were able to go and do independent work, if they saw their problem, that's rewarding to them. And it challenges them and it encourages them to get it right. Overall, I like this approach to observing students. I plan to use this technique in the classroom as well. And I plan to use this as an exit ticket as well. That way they can maybe turn it in at the end of the day, and that way I can gather information about how I approach my instruction the next day. The next topic that will be discussed in this presentation is no opt-out. No opt-out is basically turning the I don't knows into success by ensuring the students that who won't try or can't answer practice getting it right. And this can be found on page 90 of our text. This also ensures that all students will take responsibility for their learning, help students who do not know the answer rehearse success, and peers help each other in an effective and positive way. How does it impact my thinking? The no opt-out strategy ensures that students have no choice but to try. It empowers them, the teacher, to help all students to take the first step towards success, and it builds student-teacher trust. Why implement this information? And it's students who tend to be unruly and resistant. Students who know, this is the reason why you should, because students who tend to be unruly and resistant, they need to know that it's not okay to say I don't know, or to be resistant. It's not okay. The student is responsible for their learning. They have to show responsibility, and they have to be responsible. It's not okay to say I don't know and shove it off, because everyone deserves to learn. And so students who know but may not want to answer, some students are just shy, but if you be persistent and consistent with the students, then they will open up. Students who may not know, and classroom morale, when I say classroom morale, I think about how the students are encouraging each other to get the right answer and just be successful in the classroom, and that could boost up your classroom morale. So that's what I ended up getting from this, from no opt-out, and I plan to use this in my classroom as well. As a matter of fact, when I was a paraprofessional, I didn't know I was using this technique, and I didn't take no for an answer. I didn't take I didn't know, I don't know for an answer. We worked until we got it right. We worked until the students did know. And once the students know that it's okay to be wrong or it's okay to mess up, then they will open up. Even when Mr. Davis' 7th grade student did not want to answer, with the no opt out, students are not given the option to give up. They're not given the option to say, I don't know, and then just sit there and not participate. I like this. Sometimes it could be a hassle because some students are just going to be stubborn. But if implemented correctly, students will eventually hear themselves getting it right. Okay, and this is my reference. I use Teach Like a Champion 2.0 book by Doug Lemov, and I hope you enjoy my presentation. Thank you.